So these are the three pillars of Prince2. And we say the three integrated elements. And why do we say integrated? Because these three are pretty well integrated with each other. Like learn from experience. That's the principle. We say apply lessons and all. You would find within the themes, there are activities, there is guidance on how do we identify lessons, how do we manage learnings and all. Likewise, within processes, you will see there have been activities somewhere that says, for example, in starting up, it says now you see previous lessons. So that's what integration is about. So these three pillars are well integrated with each other, right? Now, let's take a look at what's new in the Prince2 7th edition, right? Number one, people focus. We partially touched upon that. So this is the biggest change, I would say, that happened in the 7th edition of Prince2. There was no people element. It has been introduced as the 5th element, a new element. And there's a lot of emphasis now on leading successful teams, leading change, designing the project ecosystem, creating the project culture, focusing on collaboration, effective working, communication within the team. So that is the most important change. A second one, agile integration. Now, Prince2 was always, or rather not always, since 2009 onwards, the 2009 version of Prince2, it was agile ready. All right. So to basically explain how do I make this claim agile ready, let me make a few points. So Prince2 encourages changes, just like agile does. Okay, we are open to changes, right? Iterative delivery. Agile employs iterative delivery. Prince2 has always been talking about managed by stages, which is all about iterative delivery, overcoming uncertainties, right? Agile talks about empowering teams. So does Prince2. There is a principle within Prince2 which is termed as managed by exception, which empowers people, right? So that's the reason I say that Prince2 was always agile ready, that there's a lot of common concepts, when it comes to Prince2 agile. Although there is a bit of myth out in the market. Many people still perceive Prince2 as something that can be used in a traditional predictive kind of environment. It's not applicable in agile. That's not true. That's not at all true. That's what I was trying to explain. There are a lot of elements within Prince2 that well gels with agile, right? To the extent that Prince2 has come up with, PeopleCert rather, has come up with another guidance, which is simply named as Prince2 Agile, right? And here another myth. Prince2's strength is governance and control. Now, many people believe that governance and control would come at the price of agility. Now, that's not true. In fact, governance and control ensure that agile can be used in complex environments. So be, aware of this prejudice, right? So the way it works, Prince2 can very beautifully deal with agile. Let's say, for example, Scrum. So Scrum, for that matter, it has all guidelines around how to deliver. There is little guidance on governance or management in Scrum. It's all about delivery. So the way agile could work with Prince2 is at the delivery level, we apply Scrum, right? And the Prince2 management and governance levels, they sit on top, management and the directing level, which is about governance. This Prince2 strength is direction and management, right? So the way it is working is direction management, we bring in Prince2, and for delivering Prince 2 has no guidance on delivering, by the way. How do we execute the work package? Prince 2 has no guidelines here. That's where Scrum Agile could well fit, right? And for it to work effectively, the Agile Prince 2 ethos of governance and direction has to percolate down to the delivering level. Likewise, agile ways of working has to percolate up to the management and directing levels. That is, the management and directing levels should support agile ways of working, agile philosophies, concepts, and all. So this is how the two can marry together pretty well. So to summarize, agile Prince 2 was always agile ready, but the latest edition has more specific guidelines, on how agile could be integrated with Prince 2. Better tailoring. So Prince 2, the beauty of Prince 2 is scalable no matter what project. It's a small 1 month project with a couple of guys working. We can use Prince 2. At the same time, we can use it to a huge project, right? It's so very beautifully it can be tailored. The latest edition has more guidance on tailoring, more practical application. So to the extent that in every chapter, every practice, they introduce a section wherein they talk about tailoring based on organizational context. It talks about tailoring based on organizational context, tailoring based on the commercial context, commercial to main, when the supplier and customer happen to be separate legal entities, tailoring based on delivery method to mean predictive, agile, iterative, incremental, hybrid. Okay, scale up the project. So they've introduced a section and they talk about each of these areas. How exactly do we tailor each of these practices? All right. So hence to summarize, it's not that the earlier versions didn't talk about tailoring. The earlier versions did talk about, but they left more of it to the practitioner to decide, how to tailor. But the latest edition has been more helpful, kind of the spoon feed how to tailor. So that's another major change. Uh, Another change would be leadership focus. So it's like now we got to look at this way. Leaders are not just seen as decision makers, but they should also act as facilitators of team cohesion, providing psychological safety for the team, providing direction, leadership. So the focus of that has also been emphasized in the latest edition by means of leading successful team, leading successful change. So these are the major enhancements in the latest edition of Prince 2. All right, let's now take a look at the exam, the levels of exam we have in Prince 2. We got two levels, we got foundation and practitioner. So foundation level is the entry point, and there's no prerequisite for foundation. Anybody can go for the foundation level. And the foundation level is basically meant for those who work as a member in the project management team, right? If you are a practitioner, a project manager, then for a practitioner, the next level practitioner is what is recommended. And the foundation level checks on the basics of the Prince 2 method. So if you're aware of the Bloom's taxonomy level, the questions would be at the kind of level 1 and 2, wherein we check how much have you understood the guidance, how much of it you remember. That's what. So the question are on terminology, structure, is multiple choice format, and it's a closed book exam. And the exam would comprise of 60 questions to be completed in 60 minutes. And the pass mark happens to be 60% again. That is 36 out of 60. That's the foundation level format. And practitioner, coming to that, I just also wanted to tell you, foundation exam is pretty easy. In fact, out of my experience, nobody has ever failed foundation exam in my training. Practitioner level is the next level, and it builds on the foundation. The prerequisite for practitioner would be foundation. You got to clear the foundation exam first to go for the practitioner level. Well, there are certain other routes also that they recently introduced. If you're a PMP certified or CMPM certified, then one can directly go for practitioner level and bypass foundation. All right. And the format of practitioner, this is checking real application. So the foundation was just how much you understand the basics, but this is how well you are able to apply in a given scenario. That's because it is meant for practicing project managers. So the exam would be based on a project scenario, a few pages scenario they give you, and all questions would pertain to applying Prince2 and in that particular scenario. And hence the level of questions are of 3 and 4 in the Bloom's taxonomy level, right? And again, the exam format, if you're interested, there are 70 questions here. The exam duration happens to be 2.5 hours, and the pass mark again remains 60%. That is 42 out of 70 you got to score to be awarded a pass.